Dual avatars, an interesting clan derived of two subclans, one being the dual avatar fist. As we can see, he is training with his fist by punching in midair. Yes, I don't know why he's doing that, but as he's training, he's ready to fight the other tribe, the feet. Fist. Now we see dual avatar feet training. And they are training to defeat the fist tribe. As you see, they are kicking in midair in sort of a chorus line activity. No one knows why, but they are training really weird. These weird tribes. Feet. Now they are at war and about to attack each other. Let's look at the aftermath through this live video. Feet. He's too strong. The power of the dual avatar spirits. I will fuse its power. Ah! Wait, why did I get any better? Oh well. Hello, and welcome to the new series, Jank Too Good. This is a series where we take your favorite Jank Yu-Gi-Oh decks, like Dual Avatar, which will be premiering in this first episode, and make them not good, but like discuss how good they are, which is not really good. Alright, in this series, we will be discussing the good of the card design, the bad of the card design, or the pros and cons, and the pros and cons of the deck strategy, and how they relate to how jank this deck is. And then we'll be talking about how we can fix this deck, and hopefully, one day, it will actually be meta. That would be a miracle. So, in this first episode, we'll be talking about the legendary archetype, Dual Avatar. Let's start with the deck's card design and the pros of it. Let's discuss the pros of the card design of Dual Avatar. Alright, this is the section where we discuss Konami's actually really good ideas when designing these cards, with some really powerful effects and some surprisingly awful archetypes. Even though the effect's good, doesn't make the archetype good, because usually there's some problem with something else. Let's start with Dual Avatar. Let's go to the main deck monster. Let's start with Dual Avatar Fist, Yuhi. Yuhi is a light warrior, level 4 warrior with the effect: you can target one dual avatar monster you control, destroy it, and if you do, add one dual avatar spell from your deck to your hand. If a face-up dual avatar fusion monster you control that was fused summoned using an effect monster as material is destroyed by a battle or an opponent's card effect, while this card is in your graveyard, you can add this card to your hand. You can only use this effect once per turn. Now, as a normal summon, it's not bad. It's searchable off of Rhoda because it's a level 4 lower warrior, and as a starter, it's not bad. It can pop itself, add some of the archetype's best cards, being Invitation, its fusing spell, or Defeating Evil, its interruption, and it has an effect where it can recur itself when a fusion monster is destroyed, which, granted, isn't the best recursion. I mean, it's okay because it's when an opponent destroys something, which is not bad, but if the opponent actually plays around it, then it won't happen. If it had more like a Sky Striker Ace Ray effect, where it can just, when that opponent leaves, just makes a card leave the field, you can add it back, then it'd be a lot better. But as it stands, it's not bad. Also, if you destroy a card, because the archetype can do that a lot, and it can add back, that would make it a lot better. Honestly, it would be really good. But as it stands right now, it is not bad. And honestly, it can do some real good. Now let's go to the next main deck monster, Dual Avatar Feet, Kakoku. I don't know how to pronounce it. Bear with me for that. It is a level 3 light warrior that reads: if this card is normal or special summon, you can add one dual avatar trap from your deck to your hand. During your opponent's turn, if a face-up dual avatar monster you control, except Feet, is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can special summon this card from your hand. Then apply this effect: destroy one dual avatar monster you control, and if you do, special summon one dual avatar fusion monster from your extra deck. You can only use this effect once per turn. Now this card's alright, being when it's summoned, you can add a trap, and dual avatars have one really good trap, and two subpar traps, which they're okay, but not great. Feet can let you also special summon itself when a dual avatar fusion is destroyed, and summon a fusion, which is good, but it's conditional and it won't happen too often. But as it stands right now, feet's alright with one decent effect, one good effect. I think Yui's much better and a much better starter than feet. But as it stands, it's not a bad card and it's pretty good. Now let's go on to a card that searches all of them. It is a field spell and it's called Perfect Sync Aun. And it's a field spell, and it reads, when this card is activated, you can add one dual avatar monster from your deck to your hand. If you control a dual avatar effect monster, you can special summon one dual avatar spirit token. Also, you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck for the rest of the turn, except fusion monsters. You can only use effect once per turn, you can only activate one once per turn. So, this card is actually really good. It's like Magical Meltdown, it lets you add the archetype in archetype monsters, and it gives the in-archetype monsters fuel. It gives Yuhi fuel to search invitation while keeping Yuhi on the field. So you can summon Yuhi, get a token, and some of the extra deck monsters require Yuhi, so that's pretty good. So with all this, invitation, Perfect Sync Aun is a pretty good card, and the restrictions, well, the archetype was already going to be under those restrictions anyways, so it doesn't really matter. Honestly, this archetype's pretty decent, and this card's pretty good, and let's go on to the spells. Starting with our first spell is Dual Avatar Invitation. And this card reads, it is a normal spell. Discard one card, and if you do, special as many Dual Avatar Spirit tokens as possible. Warrior, Light, level 2, attack 0, defend 0. Also, for the rest of the turn, you cannot special monsters from the next deck except fusion monsters, and all tokens you control cannot be tributed and are destroyed during the end phase. After summoning these tokens, you can apply this effect up to twice. You summon one dual avatar fusion from your extra deck using monsters from your hand or field as material. You can activate one invitation per turn. Now this card's actually really good. It lets you summon 5 tokens. That sounds like another card. And that card's banned. It's just like Tomahawk, summon 5 tokens. Well, you can only use fusions, but still, 5 tokens is 5 tokens. And who doesn't love 5 tokens, am I right? So 5 tokens is pretty good, and also it has an effect where it can fusion summon, so they don't have to poly them away. Oh god, this deck would be awful if you had to poly it away. But as it stands, it's not bad being able to fusion twice, so it's 2 polys, 2 for the price of 1. That sounds pretty good to me. So this card can summon the fusions and has basically no requirement activation besides a discard, so it's not a great top deck card, but I mean it's good if you have a card in hand, but it can really get the momentum swinging and it's pretty good. Now let's go on to their next spell. Their next spell is Dual Avatar Defeating Evil. This card reads, it is a quick play spell, and it reads, target one dual avatar monster you control and 1 card your opponent controls, destroy them. Then if you destroy a dual avatar fusion monster you control by this effect, you can apply one of these effects. Either draw 1 card or banish 1 card from your opponent's graveyard. You can activate 1 per turn. Now this card is decent, but I was a little generous and put it on the pros. I was deciding if it was a pro, con, or if it just didn't make it. Now this card lets you destroy an opponent's monster unless you draw 1. And drawing 1 is limited. It's like Upstart. Now you have to destroy a fusion to do that, which is a little pricey, but that's not too bad because you'll read the fusions and realize that's not too bad. Am I right? Now, and banishing 1 card from your opponent's grave is crazy. People spend a lot of money to discard a card and get rid of 2 cards in the grave. So getting rid of 1 and destroying an opponent's monster must be great. So this card's not bad, and the requirement isn't too bad being able to destroy a fusion monster. And if you're in a format where Salmon Grave is popular, a lot of graveyard relying decks are popular, which is a lot of formats, then you can get rid of their Spinning, Gazelle, or Jaguar, and make them go down a resource. And that's not bad. So overall, this card's not bad, but could be better, a little less restrictive. But overall, it's not bad. And we go on to their traps. Now, Dual Avatar's first trap, and probably one of the best cards in the archetype, and more archetypes should implement this type of idea into their decks. And it's Dual Avatar Compact. It's a normal trap. During the main phase, banish 1 Dual Avatar spell attack from your grave, except Dual Avatar Compact. This card's effect becomes that spell and trap's effect when that card is activated. You can activate one per turn. This card's kind of crazy because you can just banish one spell or trap and copy an effect. Copying effects are really good. Let's say Invitation. You can feud someone during your opponent's turn. Defeating Evil. You can destroy a card or draw one or banish one during your opponent's turn. It's pretty good. Like being able to copy effects and basically make all your spells useful in grave or traps useful in grave. That's not bad. It's got a really good card, and there's no downsides to it at all. There's no really activation requirements. All you need is spells in the grave, which will happen no matter what. This card's really good, and honestly, I think this should be in more archetypes. And the next trap is Dual Avatar Return. It is a normal trap and it reads, target one Dual Avatar monster in your grave, special summon it, and then special summon one spirit token. Then if it was original level is 4 or lower, you can special summon one Dual Avatar spirit token. It is a same stats, so you can only activate one per turn. Now, this card's alright, and again, I was kind of generous in putting it on pros, but it lets you special summon Yuhi, gain a token for its effect. It's pretty good, but if it was a spell, I think it'd be a lot better, because if your opponent just like not ghost over, but like Dryden popped it before it gets into effect, or Judgmented Yuhi or something like that. I don't know why I knew it would, but and then or striked it. I don't know if that would work either, but yeah, if that happened, you can just summon it back with a spell and get a token for its effect. It's not a bad card. I think it would be a lot better if you use a spell or a continuous trap if you just keep doing it. That would actually be really good as a recursion option. But as it stands right now, it's not bad, and it's not awful, and it supplements the engine. So let's move on to the next trap. It is Dual Avatar Ascendance. This card reads, it's a normal trap. Target one Dual Avatar monster you control, destroy it. And if you do, special one Dual Avatar monster from your deck or extra deck whose original level is 1 or higher or lower. Then that monster had on the field. During your main phase, except this turn, the turn this card was sent to the graveyard, you can manage this card from your grave and target one Dual Avatar monster in your grave, add it to your hand. You can only use one effect. You can only use each effect once per turn. That was pretty hard for me to say, but honestly, it's alright. Its first effect's kind of situational and requires a bit of setup. I mean, not setup, but like, it's not the best. Being able to special one of the fusions is nice, or one of the main deck monsters. It's okay, but its second effect's really good, and I've been seeing this a lot of Jank archetypes like Tenny, where you can like banish it and add back resources or add more resources to your hand, which is a great effect, and more archetypes that are good should implement it. So it's got a decent first effect, really good second effect. But overall, for the card design, it has good consistent ways to get to what the strategy does best, and hopefully, if this deck does get more support, which I think it will, it can keep going with its ideas, and hopefully it can one day be good. Now, let's go on to the card design pros, or cons. Let's see. Alright, on to the cons. Alright, let's start with the card design cons. So, where do we start? Well, I've been hyping up, and the whole archetype has been hyping up these fusion monsters, and you realize I've talked about them. They must be really good, right? Oh, you are wrong. Konami screwed up when creating these fusion monsters. Like, they were like, how can we make this archetype good? Nah, let's not do that. How about we just make it pack filler, because I like money. I mean, I agree with Konami. I also like money. But you should at least try to make it okay. Let's start with the first fusion monster. This card is called Dual Avatar Fist Armored Agoyo. Now, you can call it that. I'll just call it red. It's a light warrior level 6 fusion monster. It says 2 Dual Avatar monsters. That's its summon requirements. If this card is special summoned, you can target one fate attack position monster your opponent controls. Destroy it. Also, this card cannot attack directly for the rest of the turn. You can only use this effect once per turn. While you control a Dual Avatar fusion monster that was fusion summoned using an effect monster as material, all Dual Avatar fusion monsters you control gain 300 attack and defense. Now, this is probably the worst out of the fusions in my opinion. What we'll discuss later is the big boy fusions. This is the worst of the small boy fusions, I guess. Basically, these are more of the ones that will supplement the big boy fusions, and this one's not great. it has so many restrictions to its pop effect. First of all, has to be on summon, has to be attack position monster. That's not good. And it can't even attack directly the turn it uses the effect. Like, why? That doesn't make the archetype broken at all. So basically, on summon, it's okay. It's not great. It's awful going first. And the stat boost, well, all the little ones have the effect where if they have they're fused with, if there's a dual avatar effect monster material, then they gain an effect. And this one's alright, which is not bad. At least the good effect's on top and the other one's on bottom. 300 attack and defense most of the time won't matter. They don't have amazing stats where it would matter. But this, it just really screws up. If this card was like on a quick effect, I think it'd be a lot better, but it's so restrictive and it's only on summon. The only way this card would be impactful during your opponent's turn is to use compact, which is the best way to do it. So if you use compact, it's not bad. But let's go on to the next card. We have, it's a dual avatar card, it's dual avatar feet, armored Angoyo. So it's pretty much the same name except for feet and Angoyo. And this card is a level 5 light warrior fusion. It requires 2 dual avatar monsters. And it reads, if a dual avatar fusion monster you control would be destroyed by a card effect, you destroy one dual avatar monster you control instead. During the main phase, if you control a dual avatar fusion monster that was fused to someone using an effect monster material. Quick effect, can target one face-up monster, special from the extract. Negates effect till the end of turn. You can only activate 1 feat per turn. This guy is also known as blue, by the way, so we got red and blue. Now this, in my opinion, out of all of them, is the best dual avatar one. I know your hopes just dropped really soon. This card has a decent protection effect, so if you summon during your opponent's turn with compact, you'll definitely have some token that you can just destroy for free and protect your cards. It's not bad, it's not awful, but like, could have been better. But as least just destruction by card effect, not battle, which is good. And then we get to the negating effect. Negating an extra deck monster is not a bad effect, but like it could have been better. Like it doesn't even destroy it. It's just the Hot Red Dragon Archfiend that's worse. If it was exactly like Hot Red, then I'd say it's really good and really amazing. Just be able to negate any card on field. But as it stands right now, it's not amazing, and it could have been a lot better. And some decks don't even use the extra deck this format, like Eldritch, so it's not great. If this card was better, this is the best one, so your hopes shouldn't be too high. But this is the best one, and this is the end of the baby fusions. Now we get into the big boy boss monster fusions. I either call them the boss monster fusion or the big boy fusion. The first big boy fusion is Dual Avatar Empowered Kangoyo. Empowered, that must mean strong. It's a light warrior, level 8, with 3,000 attack and 1,700 defense. Requires Dual Avatar Fist Yuki and two Dual Avatar monsters. And it reads, if this card battles, your opponent cannot activate cards or effects until the end of the damage step. If this card attacks, after damage calculation, you can return one monster your opponent controls to the hand. When your opponent's spell trap card or effect is activated that targets this card in the field, while you control 2 or more fusion monsters, you can negate the activation. You can only use 1 effect per turn. Why? Why did that mess up so bad? So, when it battles, you can have better anti-magic arrows. Great. See, the thing is, most decks will just use the effects on the main phase. Like, most decks don't run battle traps. A lot of decks don't have monsters that work in the battle phase. Well, I guess except for War Rocks, but who runs War Rocks? Oh my god, I just found the War Rock counter. Oh, big brain. Alright, and so this effect's not great, and the protection effect is so bad. So you have to control 2 fusions, so if you have one of them, the effect's gone. And it's telegraphed. It's so telegraphed. If this card just read, you cannot be targeted, that would have been one thing. And that would have been actually a decent effect. Because some decks have a hard time outing cards like that. But it's not too hard, but yeah. And it's a decent beater. It's 3,000. And it can get boosted with red to 33. And you have 2 reds, 36. And if you have 3 reds, I don't know how you get 3 reds on the field, 39. So, it's not bad, but like, could have used more. Like, it does nothing during the opponent's turn. It doesn't do enough. Like, they really failed with this. This is the worst out of the big boys, but I think it's better than red because it at least does stuff in like the battle phase, stuff like that, and it's not that conditional. Out of the big boys, it's the worst, and for the fist, they're 2 for 2 with the worst fusions. Now, the feet have better fusions, and yet the fist have better main deck monsters, so kind of evens out. Next is the better one, dual avatar powered Michi's Jaku, or otherwise known as Silver. And this one's a light warrior, level 7, and it reads dual avatar feat Kakoku plus 2 dual avatar monsters. And it reads, the first time each dual avatar fusion monster you control would be destroyed by battle, each turn it is not destroyed. Once per turn, you can return all spell and trap your opponent controls to hand. When a monster effect is activated on your opponent's field, while you control 2 or more dual fusion monsters, you can destroy that target. You can only use effect once per turn. This effect's alright. Everything about it's alright. So, start with the returning spells from your opponent to their hand. That effect's just, it's alright. The thing is, most decks don't care. Either they've activated their cards that are relevant already, they'll negate that card, or they'll just activate it and then like get it back as a resource. So, it's not great. So, if it had a better effect, like if it could, if they couldn't respond, or if it bounced back to your own, then it would be crazy. If it's actually Giant True Name, that would be crazy, getting back your own resources. But as it stands right now, it's not great. It'll come up sometimes, but a lot of times it won't. But the other effect, to destroy an opponent's monster, it's just a worse Draco Berserker of the 10A. It's just easier to summon, but it's not a bad effect, but like, there's a lot of problems with Draco Berserker also apply here. Like, it has to be the specific monster. So let's say they activate an effect, but you have to destroy that monster. Let's say they activate Eldritch effect, descend from hand. You can't just destroy any card on the field or any monster. That's not great. But if they activate something like Savage unknowingly and you would just destroy it, that's pretty good. It's got decent stats. It's got a 3,000 defense wall, which is not bad, but it could be used more. And its effect that each time a card would be destroyed by battle wouldn't be. It's situational. It'll come up a few times. It's like Dragonic Diagram. Will come up a few times, but not, well, a little different, but it'll come up a few times. It's alright. It's just a little bonus. It is the second best out of them all and the best out of the big boys. So, all the fusion monsters needed to be better. All of them were bad. Like, you can't deny it. And these are the main gimmicks of the archetype. Like, this is what they stand for as fusion monsters. If they had better effects or flowed in more, I think they'd be better. And they all require a stupid restriction, at least the little ones do, where you have to control a fusion monster that was fused someone using an effect monster, which is just such a stupid restriction that didn't need to be there. But overall, like, these are the cons of the card design. Let's go on to the pros of the deck strategy. Now let's discuss the deck strategy pros. Well, first pro, deck's really consistent. Like, consistency is really good with this deck. They have 3 Invitation, 3 Yuki, and 3 Field Spell. And you can add a Terraforming and stuff like that. That is 10 ways to get to your engine, basically. And even then, you have 2 feet to get cards that you need to keep playing as well. So, kind of like 13 cards that just help you. Another thing is, they have a decent amount of hand advantage. You know, they keep advantage decently because you summon 5 tokens, you summon twice. Hand advantage is a little bit of a trouble with them, but like, they keep amount of advantage that's decent throughout the game. Also, they're not graveyard reliant. That's pretty huge. They don't care if your cards get to the grave, and they don't care. They don't care if the cards go to the grave, and they don't care if you shut off the grave. So cards like Dimension Shifter or Abyss Dweller just don't affect them. Another pro is that they have a lot of space. They can run a lot of hand traps, different engines. They don't need too many cards in their main deck. Their extra deck, they need a lot of cards, but then again, you're going to be locked into things. So you could run a lot of different main deck cards. You can experiment a lot with the deck, which is another pro that it's got a lot of space. Now, we discussed all the pros to the strategy. Let's go on to the cons of the deck strategy. The deck strategy cons. Let's start with their biggest con, their power. All the deck's power is just lackluster. Defeating evil is decent, but they need more. And then all the fusion monsters, like I discussed, are all lackluster effects that don't have enough going for them. If they had more, I would discuss that, but they need more. If the fusions had more, the deck strategy would be great. Another thing is, they're really hand trap prone. Hit an Ash on the Yugi, pass. Hit an Ogre on the Yugi, pass. Effectively Yugi, pass. Really hand trap prone. But I mean, they don't really lose to high impact hand traps like Droll, Nibiru, other stuff like that. But they do get Nibiru pretty easily. Dimension Shifter is something they don't care about, which is really good, which a lot of decks do care about. That's one positive. Another thing is, overall, they don't keep a great hand size, but they make up with it with having advantage otherwise and a lot of recursion. Now, we discussed all 4 elements of what makes a deck good and bad. Oh, yes, 2, because we discussed the pros and cons. Let's go on to how we can actually make this deck better. Well, let's start with the first thing. The first thing is, give the fusion monsters recursive effects in the grave. When they're sent to grave, either add back Yugi, add a card from your deck to your hand, add one of the spells, whatever, add one of the traps, whatever you can do, just give them graveyard effects that help recur the archetype. Another thing is, give the fusions more power. Right as they stand, they don't have much power. They have an extra negate and a quick effect destruction of a monster effect activation. That's not great. They need more power. Overall, it's not bad design. Also, I think they need to utilize destruction a little more. The deck destroys a lot. They could utilize that more. And they need to use their tokens a little better. They can use it for fusion summoning, but they need to do it for other things. So overall, that'd make the deck better. So hopefully this helped you, and let's go to the outro. Thank you all who's watching. I doubt many people are, but if you're watching, you are the best. Subscribe to the channel. Please tell your friends, because I want to make this better, and give suggestions in the comments. And if you have a jank deck that you recommend, put it in the comments. And if it's jank enough and I think it's cool, we'll review it next episode. Right now as it stands, this will probably be weekly, and hopefully I can pump them out weekly and get them going. So please subscribe, and I'm going to head out so I can start editing this. Goodbye.